Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney, Australia, for your weekly therapy session and Friday Night Pint. We have to get used to these Friday Night Pints being match reviews, Josh, because we'll very likely be in the Europa or the Conference League next season. So a lot of these match reviews will obviously fall on a Friday night Sydney time, unfortunately. But it has been a long week, as I always say, on these Friday Night Pints ahead of the sort of after a Man United week. And the news doesn't stop. Obviously, about 5 minutes ago, RANGNICK being confirmed, the Austria manager. I think it's a nothing story, but just Man United's manager signs a deal with someone else. It is a big story. You can understand that. So, again, what a week it has been, Josh. Good to see you filling in for Larry. I think Larry's just still sort of traumatised by the performances and trying his best to sort of hide away. But good to have you on, mate, and tell me about the week.
Been a long week, hasn't it, really? It feels like a lot's happened, but really we've only played Chelsea. That's it. It's just been a nothing week, really. Standard really waking up disappointed after a shocking performance. You get used to it. Learn to live with it.
Well, where do you sit on the performance in regards to the feeling? Like, yes, it's downbeat. It's a downbeat mood now. Of course it is. But I almost felt that first half, maybe it changed in the second half because there was goals either end of the field and maybe a little bit more excitement. But that first half, look, I'm not going to say it was sort of better than or anything else in regards to when Liverpool beat us 5-0 or 4-0 or the defeat to Arsenal or all those were far sort of more embarrassing. They were heavier defeats. That there was a horrible feeling after those. I had that feeling in that first half. I was just watching it and going, what am I watching this for? But Chelsea are just toying with us. I felt it was almost as bad as it has been in regards to whether it be the Liverpool defeats, the Manchester, had a similar feel to that Manchester City game at Old Trafford, I felt, that first half, where we were just chasing shadows and there was just nothing in the game. That's how bad I thought it was.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I mean, similar to the first half of the City game, but it had that element of reality, really. There's nothing to play for. I mean, I suppose you want to try and still get into Europe, and we have the danger of probably not getting into it if other European results go the English way, but it pretty much looks like United are going to be playing, I'd say, Conference League football next year. And it sort of had that element to it. Just can't be bothered anymore. Season's over. What's the point? I mean, I think I can recall playing, the top four at this stage of the season with nothing to play for. I think that the last time which springs to mind for me was when we won the league in 2012-13. We played Chelsea and Arsenal. As the penalty, the last, I think, 3 or 4 games. And there was nothing to play for. Obviously, completely different circumstance in terms of where we are in the league at the moment. But just an element of nothing, really. And I suppose we know where we are. We know who we are at the moment. Not a shock. Disappointing, obviously, to put performances like that. It's not fair on the fans after, what they've been through this year, especially the fans that went yesterday and protested before the game. I thought they probably deserved a little bit better, but we are where we are.
Sadly, agree with pretty much every word you said there. And I'll just say good day to some guys in the chat. If you can hear some panting in the background, it's my dog. I don't know what he is doing, but he's out of breath. So I think he's done more running than Marcus Rashford, to be honest. But Rob here, which we'll get into Rashford in a little bit. But Rob, good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Emad, as always, he's putting vote for you and your candidacy for next host of the podcast. But vote 1 for Josh for permanent co-host. Robert Green in regards to that first half. And, it just felt like a training session for Chelsea. And that is as bad as it feels because you still, I don't pay to watch training. I pay to watch the games. And Dion, always good to see you, mate. And Mike, as always. But we're going to get into many things. Obviously, a bit of a casual chat towards the end in regards to the circus that is Manchester United and sort of individual, sort of the Ralph Rangnick story. If you want to touch on the Mino Raiola stuff at the end, and does that affect Manchester United? Like this, it was a sad story. Then it turned into a Twitter circus, like it was transfer deadline day or something. So we'll get into all that at the end of the podcast. But there was a match to review, Josh. And I wouldn't say game of two halves, but it kind of was because we've touched on the first half and how embarrassing it was at times. But I'm just looking at, okay, nothing to play for, but technically there is something to play for, whether that be an outside chance of top 4, obviously not, but technically yes. Europa League over Conference League, which one do you want if it's going to be a choice between the two, or lose completely and you miss out on Europe completely? Is that what people want? So I'm just saying, in regards to the match and performance, okay, Chelsea are better than us. Chelsea are technically European champions. We don't want to admit that, but technically they are. So here we have 2 1-0 draws against them this season. I'm quite disappointed with that. So I think that's good that we are disappointed, but sadly it shows you how we are performing. But is there anything else on the match, like in regards to the way we played, when we did finally get the ball that you want to discuss?
Probably would have reacted a bit more to how exposed we were in terms of formation. I felt the wing backs were, well, our full backs were completely exposed by Alonso and James, who played as sort of wing backs for Chelsea. I thought they were made to look probably a lot better than what they actually are. And there's no denying Reece James's class, but Marcus Alonso is Marcus Alonso. He's not.
On that Marcus Alonso. There's two things that I always notice in a Premier League season. Liverpool play Norwich every second week at Anfield, and every time I turn the TV on and Chelsea are playing, Marcus Alonso's scoring goals. Yeah. He has to be the Golden Boot winner this. Every single game Chelsea play, he scores. Prove me wrong. How many goals does he score a season? And Chelsea fans don't really rate him. Chelsea fans say, "Oh, if we can he's not really that good. We can sort of move him on." I'm thinking, if you can have a left back who's scoring every time I turn the bloody TV on, it's a decent left back to have. And I don't know if I rate him. Probably don't as well, but it kills me.
He's consistent. I mean, not only does he score, but he gets a hell of a lot of assists. But that's natural, really, when that's when your main source of attacks going for your wing backs. And I think the other thing for me was I thought McTominay probably should have got hooked at half time. Really, really poor performance from him. Matic probably was made to look a bit more ordinary than what he actually deserved. I thought he had a very good game, Matic, but it did help having the partner he had in McTominay today. He was really poor.
Well, Emad here saying, is he a left back? Looked like he was playing up front. And that's what a lot of fullbacks do, look like they are playing when they do sort of rock up to Old Trafford. And I'll get into that in regards to Marcus Rashford and his performance, because I think the fullbacks had such a field day off the back. A lot of Marcus Rashford's sort of unfortunate wrongdoing. But on Scott McTominay, and here I've been the last couple of weeks, well, the whole time, but especially the last couple of weeks when he's come in for massive criticism, I've stuck by Scott McTominay and sort of defended him a little bit, maybe even more than a little bit. But I'll continue to do so. And yes, in regards to quality today and in the last couple of games, but especially today, in regards to quality in football, yeah, deserves all the criticism in the world. Not good enough, 100%. Will I go in on him? Not a chance, because I see other players, and I don't want to dig Marcus Rashford out yet, but in regards to some other, and not just Rashford, but other players as well, who have far more quality than Scott McTominay, when they're not putting the effort in, and when they're not putting 100% sort of fight for the badge, that's what deserves criticism. That's the problem at the moment, not Scott McTominay's pass completion or his pass accuracy or the pass, sort of the direction on his passes, if they're sideways or forwards. That's not the problem at the moment. Before we look for quality to fix our issues, before we look for quality players in the transfer market or quality players to win us a title, before that, we need people who are going to run. That's the problem that needs to be fixed now. We don't need the quality players. We need people who want to play for Man United. And Scott McTominay is one of those players who want to play for Man United. So yes, in an ideal situation, would I look to improve on Scott McTominay in the transfer market? No doubt. First thing Monday morning, I would look to improve on Scott McTominay. But after those other issues are solved, and look, Scott McTominay, yes, does deserve criticism, but for me, not ahead of some others.
Do you think it was a fitness thing? Like Dion's put in the comments there saying there's no way the bloke's fit, and that sort of resonates with me a little bit. I thought with McTominay going into the team, I thought this might have been the game for him, really. You know, a task where he's got to really put Jorginho and Kante at bay. And he thought it was a game that's probably made for him a little bit, running around, you know, closing down these type of players, and didn't really see any of that. And he actually got bossed by him.
Yeah, no, look, well, I'll touch on Rashford, although that was my sort of 2 cents on Scott McTominay. On Rashford, though, which is where I think Dion's alluding to in regards to Marcus Rashford, I don't think anyone's questioning Scott McTominay's fitness levels, but sort of on Marcus Rashford, where do you stand on... Well, I sat here and probably wrongly said it the other day. I said everyone deserves a clean slate under Ralph Rangnick, and under ERIK Ten Hag, sorry. And what I meant by that was probably more so football terms, okay? If he sees Andreas Pereira as a footballer, if he sees Jesse Lingard as a footballer, footballing-wise, everyone deserves a clean slate. If he thinks Wan-Bissaka is a future right-back, footballing-wise, everyone deserves a clean slate. But off the back of some of their showings, whether it be the last 6 weeks or the last season, I'm not sure some players do deserve it showing, and I'm sort of reluctant to sort of write Marcus Rashford off. I don't want to, because I do like the guy, but really I should be writing him off, because what he has been doing, and forget the F, I don't care if he misses a pass or has a bad performance. I've got no issue with that. Here I am defending Scott McTominay for bad performance. I've got no issue if you play bad. But he's doing the indefensible. I can't excuse what he is doing in regards to his lack of effort. And I am saying, okay, give him a clean slate under ERIK Ten Hag. He's got one more chance. Really, he probably shouldn't be getting a chance. Am I going over the top with how bad he has been? Not in regards to performances, but in regards to what he's showing, in regards to desire. does he deserve? Like, here I want to give him that chance to sort of fix it. But if it's another player, I probably wouldn't be giving him that chance.
I don't think he deserves it, Tom. In my opinion,
that's what I think.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I said probably about 3 podcasts ago, it's confidence. You know, he's had a bad injury with his operation in the summer. He's playing off a bit of that. He's not getting in the England team. Can't be doing good for his confidence. But I'll tell you where we have been consistent this year, and that's his bad performances. Done absolutely nothing today. A team where he's had previously not a bad record. He's got a pretty decent record against Chelsea. And he just didn't cause them any problems at all today. It's getting to the stage now where there's nothing really to play him for from our perspective. We're not.
I was shocked he played.
Yeah. I mean, look, I put him in the team when I was going to go on the podcast the other day, thinking that, you know, he's going to start anyway just because Sancho wasn't playing. I just think now the games we've got left, what is it, Brentford, Palace, Brighton, play the kids. There's nothing like... Yeah. You're playing for 3 games now. He could have 10 out of 10 performances. Still not getting in that England squad. Yeah. Not a chance. Can name 6 players better than him that are probably getting in the England squad that won't get in the England squad. So,
well, in regards to this game, and speaking of sort of the England squad even going forward, obviously different position, but Reece James, everyone's talking about Reece James had what a fantastic game. I think, okay, fair play. Wastefulness. I don't think he was that good. Yes, he probably did look good, but Emad here brings the point up here. Rashford left Tellez hanging out to dry, did not help him at all. And Alex Tellez come in for a lot of criticism. I think both our fullbacks as well. And look, yes, Tellez needs to take responsibility for when sort of his engaged actions on the ball, and I don't think he was good enough. But my God, the reason Reece James had such a good game, he wasn't playing against anyone. It was put in the comments earlier, it was sort of traffic cones. He literally, every time Chelsea had the ball, they just passed out to Reece James. And I didn't really notice it at the time, but looking back now, I'm thinking, well, there was just no one near him. Literally, every time he got the ball, he could just dribble 50 metres. And I'm thinking, I forget who made the point. I think Gary Neville might have made the point. But in regards to Chelsea, obviously play with a back 3. And it was almost the case of Marcus Rashford just thinking, okay, Azpilicueta's the right back, but he was actually the right centre back. So he was just standing up there thinking Azpilicueta was the right back, just not moving forward. So Rashford would just stand on half and say, well, I'm not going back. He's my right back. Where he didn't actually realise Reece James is the fullback. And I hate the word because I've said on here before, I hate using the word because it's used far too often, but disgusting and disgraceful in regards to effort levels. Sadly, it is. And look, I hate saying that because I absolutely love the guy, but maybe I shouldn't because do you think there is something wrong? I don't want to sort of go into sort of anything too deep in regards to, we all talk about mental health and the importance of looking out for one another. There does look to be potentially something wrong with him in regards to his head's not right. And I'm just thinking, how do you fix that?
You're playing with 10 men when he plays, in essence, because he doesn't track back. The opportunity for me, which really summed his game, was that chance where Marcus Alonso, we talk about the fullbacks, our fullbacks having a poor game. Marcus Alonso puts on a plate for James, and he takes it with his weaker foot and he kills it past I think he kills off the outside of the post. He probably had the time to take it on his stronger foot, if I'm being honest. And that's just due to how little Rashford was closing him down and other players as well, our fullbacks closing him down. Disgraceful, and maybe there is issues going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But having said that, give him the break that he needs. There's 3 games left, now to play. Said it before, nothing to play for. There's kids on that bench that show more hunger in their little cameos that they've had on the pitch. I mean, who was a player the other week that almost got sent off against Liverpool? Hannibal, yeah. He's got more fight in him. You got Alejandro that came on yesterday. More fight in him. Give these.
Look at Phil Jones and Juan Mata when they came on. Not that they changed the game, but maybe there was something there. Like I think more fans got more out of that 10 minutes from Juan Mata and Phil Jones than we did out of Marcus Rashford. And I think I just don't know what the answer is, but because he's on a massive contract, I don't think anyone is going to buy him. So he's going to stay at Manchester United. And if a player like that is at Manchester United, they're going to play. We've seen that. Doesn't matter who the manager is. They're going to be subconsciously forced to play these guys. And I just don't know what the answer is because you made the incident where the ball went across to Reece James and he hit the post. I think the more telling one was when Rashford finally switched from the left and he went over to the right. That's Marcus Alonso. He switched Reece James to Marcus Alonso. He switched over for 2 minutes. Next thing, Alonso's put the ball in the back of the net. And you look at the photo, It's Rashford standing 30 metres back, literally just standing there watching. And Diogo Dalot got a lot of criticism for tucking in. Well, no, that's his job. He had to come in, hoping his left midfielder is coming back doing his job. Suddenly the ball falls to Marcus Alonso, who just had exactly what Reece James had for the previous 60 minutes of football. And it's a hard one. I have no idea what to think of Marcus Rashford at the moment. It's sad, I think, because I've got so much anger sort of directed towards him at the moment. And I feel bad because of obviously all the good things he's doing off the field. But I'm a Manchester United fan first, and he's not doing it on the field, and he's not doing what we expect. I don't expect someone to put it in the top corner or have an 8 out of 10 performance. I expect someone to run. I expect someone to work. And it looks like when Rashford came through, that was something. Okay, he had quality, he had ability. But that was the one thing. He had heart, he had desire. That's what got him to this level. And to see him lose that week by week, because it's getting worse, Josh.
It's getting horrifically worse. And I think the bigger picture for me is you have individual players that caught the brunt of the abuse for United, Rashford being one of them, Maguire being one of them. And you've had Maguire now but sat out for a couple of games now due to injury and being rotated. Yeah, he's our captain, and he's been probably a poor captain and one of our poor players this year, but goes far beyond individual players. It's collectively as a team we're rotten to the core, no effort, no desire. Yes, your captain should drive that on the pitch, but if you're not willing to do the basics of football, you need to get out of the club.
Sad but true. Obviously, a few more topics sort of do want to discuss a little bit more, but we will stay on the game just for a little bit. And at the end of the day, it's 1-1 draw against Chelsea. Given our current situation, Josh, it's probably a good result. I think everyone would have taken that before the game. But the way it sort of panned out, you think, oh, still quite disappointing and flattening. But I think there are sort of three kind of standout candidates. This should be pretty easy. So I'll bring the 3-2-1s up here. Again, running away with it. David De Gea, surely, no arguments.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's made some good saves. I wouldn't say they were world class saves. I think they were. You'd be annoyed if they went in the back of the net. But it
was a big one. The one where he got injured from Havertz. Yeah, it was technically straight at him, but that was a save you expect from Ederson and Alisson. Quick off the line, made himself big, and I think that was a big save because when the ball went through to Kai Havertz, I just said, "Goal! It's a goal. What can you do?" And then he comes out with a big save.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's definitely one of our strongest players today. I think for me, I think I'm struggling. I agree with him. I'm struggling not to give it to Ronnie, really.
Yeah, look, I thought we'll get into the goal as well. Performance-wise, and Ralph Rangnick alluded to his performance as well. Cracking performance as well, I thought, considering what was around him. It's a shout, Ronaldo, definitely.
Yeah, against the big teams, look, he can make something happen out of nothing. He didn't just have the chance where he scored the goal. He had another chance where he tested the keeper as well. Frightening, really, to think what would happen if he went to a club like City or Liverpool. He'd be on 20 goals by November.
Where would we be? This went up on the podcast Instagram. I'm sure a lot of people are doing sort of votes like this in regards to where would we be without Ronaldo? Now, it's a stupid question because, well, where would Liverpool be without Salah's goals? Now, well, they're not going to play with 10 men. Someone else would play there and they might score goals. So it's always a stupid argument. Okay, where would Tottenham be without Harry Kane's goals? Okay, well, someone else would play striker. It's a stupid argument, but here we are. We're going to have it. Where would we be without Ronaldo? Like just put another striker, a Cavani or a Anthony Martial or Marcus Rashford up front. I think it's literally. I think I can confidently say it would be in the bottom half.
It's hard to say, Tom. I mean,
we're close to it already. We're close to the bottom half already.
We were out Ronaldo last year, Tom, and we weren't bad, and we started the season off relatively well, winning games, albeit 1-0 by the scruff of our neck. Hard to say, really, but look, the impact he's made, he's certainly not past it, and it's definitely one for ERIK to consider next year. That he could be a key part of the team if he has the right players and right personnel around him. I go back to what I said before. I just think it'd be absolutely frightening if he was at another club. He'd walk it. I think he's talking about giving young players a chance. I think he'd probably Ronaldo would want to try and play the remaining games just to get as many goals as possible. Because if you got past 20 goals this season for a team like us, you've been shocking. I mean, it'd be a monumental achievement.
It'll almost be like when that Jose Mourinho, when he finished second, he said, "That's my greatest achievement in football." You can almost see a case where Ronaldo comes out in May, so this was my best ever season, considering what was around him. But a few comments here. I think everyone in the live chat and yourself there has probably sort of swayed my opinion. I was thinking David De Gea for 3 points, but strong case for Ronaldo. I'm definitely not going to argue against Ronaldo, so I'll give Ronaldo 3 points. I think a lot of people and yourself agree David De Gea for 2. And Emad here struggling for 1 point. I think 1 point is quite easy.
Yeah, easy.
Nemanja Matic.
Yeah,
I thought,
absolutely.
and there's always a case with Matic. Well, did he do it over 90 minutes? Okay, that is the thing. Well, the manager's taken him off. But I thought Matic played extremely well. I thought there was a fight to him. I thought he gets around the pitch. There's an argument about his legs. I never really see him slowing down too much. I think we have in our mind that he slows down because he always gets substituted or doesn't play the next week. But I never really see his performance sort of tail off. So I've got no issue with that. Unfortunately, the situation has arose where he's publicly announced that he's going to leave. And sort of, okay, that is what it is. Roy Keane's made his thoughts sort of clear about that as well. And that's a debate for another day. But the pass as well. He was the one who scooped it over for, if that's Bruno Fernandes or Juan Mata or Kevin De Bruyne or something, we're talking pass or assist of the season. Fair play to Matic. I thought he was really good.
I mean, like he gave the ball away before that. He just happened to think it was Delova won it back off Kante. But yeah, it was a good performance from Matic. I thought he was quite consistent throughout the game. I think for me, what probably edges the one over any of the other players, whether that be Mata who came on or even Jones, who I didn't think had a bad game when he came on.
Rob's saying Mata here again. Why didn't he start? For me, over Bruno Fernandes, I think he should have started in that position. And again, look, he didn't change the game, but ultimately he had something about him when he came on. And here we are, disgrace, disgusting. I'll think less of Ralph if he doesn't start Mata over Bruno Fernandes against Brentford.
Yeah,
I'll think less of him.
Like, you think he definitely deserve a run in. Some of the players that haven't played that much this season definitely deserve a shout at this stage. But with going back to Matic, I think considering what he had to play with next to him in probably a really out of sorts performance from McTominay. I know he's been topsy-turvy this season, but more in terms of how the game was suited to him, did really well and was really professional. So for me, definitely gets the one. And I agree with him out there at the bottom. I mean, did Bruno play?
It's one of those.
Rashford, he's probably 9 men.
Yeah, no. Well, I said I've been playing Hannibal and Juan Mata over Bruno Fernandes at the moment. But again, that's where and tell me if I'm wrong or right in doing this, but it's where I will sort of not excuse Bruno Fernandes, but I'll lay off his case a little bit. We can question how sometimes stupid he's running around the pitch is. Well, at the end of the day, he's running around the pitch. He does fight, and I will afford a player that opportunity. If they are fighting and they show they do care, okay, yes, quality-wise, he's been bad at the moment, very bad at the moment. And I don't think he should be playing, but I'll take that bad. I'll take those misplaced passes. I'll take a little bit of diving round rather than Marcus Rashford stand on halfway thinking, I'm getting my weekly wage. I don't really give a shit. So I will take that. It's not good enough at the moment for where we are, but that is why I will stick by a player like Scott McTominay and Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, two different types of players, quality-wise, but I'll stick up for those over the likes of some others. But we'll go those 3-2-1s. Obviously, Ronaldo, David De Gea, and Nemanja Matic for 1 point.
It goes to show like how different we see United when we're bad. I mean, as soon as Chelsea were in front, I thought, this is really. I'm thinking, you know what, this is typical United. I thought, you know what, actually, if they win this game, we'll give them a bit of confidence going into the FA Cup final against Liverpool. And then as soon as we scored,
all those scenarios are running through my head, Josh. All of them.
Had that confidence. That's how bad it's come for us now. Thinking about other teams like deterring Liverpool from winning a quadruple.
I almost got out a bit of paper yesterday. And wrote, okay, Manchester City, okay, who can they play in the European final? Okay, they can play Liverpool. Okay, who's in the Champions League final? Okay, they win the league. Okay, who do I want to win the Champions League? If someone wins the Champions League, who do I want to win the league? And add the FA Cup. It is a nightmare situation Man United are in. And it's nothing to do with us. It's all to do with City and Liverpool. And but unfortunately, it does affect the way we feel as Manchester United fans. But I'll lock those 3-2-1s in. Just a few more sort of discussions. We will sort of go off on a little bit and obviously mentioned at the start of the podcast, and let us know your thoughts in the comments regarding this. Ralf Rangnick has just been announced a few minutes ago that he's confirmed as the Austrian manager for the next 2 years. I think he's going to take over a Nations League match late in May when the season finishes, but he's going to continue this sort of consultancy role for the next 2 years. Now, as I said, I don't really think this is too much of a story because I don't think anyone's going to have a clear definition of what this consultancy role is. I don't think he's sort of walking into Old Trafford and sort of sitting down at a desk from 9 to 5. I think it'll be very much, okay, we need something answered. We'll give him a call, get his opinion. That's my opinion of sort of what his sort of role will sort of entail. But at the end of the day, it is a Manchester United manager who has signed a contract somewhere else, obviously weird circumstances because he's an interim manager. But technically it has happened under Manchester United's watch, and he's technically employed by Manchester United next season. So, and obviously working for another, not club, so obviously softens the blow a little bit, working with a national team. But sign of the times, or worrying, or a non-story, or just your thinking behind it?
Nothing for me, really. I didn't expect him to be a full-time consultant. You mean, you look at United's other consultants at the moment. David Gill's a consultant. Sir Alex Ferguson's a consultant. Martin Edwards is a consultant. They don't work full-time. They're just advisory positions. If they want some clarity on, say something from a chairman capacity, Martin Edwards is a good consultant because he's overseen a transition of probably 4 chairmen before him and one after him. So those are the purpose for this role. It's an advisory position where they get his input on the likes of potentially transfers, how to approach certain methods, maybe from a managerial perspective as well. It's a nothing story for me. You expect him to have another job. As an international manager, that's not a full-time position. Yeah, you'll be watching players when the season's sort of in play, and you'll be travelling to whatever countries your key players are playing in and scouting potential prospects from the youth team. But other than that, you'd still have the time to sort of provide consultancy. Consultancy can be done from a phone capacity as well.
I think that's probably a good point you make there, and I'm definitely not sort of clinging to any straws of positivity. I'm not trying to look for them. But yeah, if I want to play that card, it's probably a good job for him to be in regards to, okay, he's still working at high-level football. He's still in and around the game, watching games non-stop, but ultimately he's just doing that from his lounge room. He might fly to a game here or there. I think it's a good one where maybe if he just went away and was on holiday in Dubai for a couple of months and suddenly his phone rang, you think, well, is he still sort of in touch sort of with the goings-on of the modern game? But I think because he will be sort of working non-stop in the game, I think he'll be travelling around and his contacts sort of networking list sort of won't shrink. And so it is what it is. I'm not glad or happy, but it's just, it is what it is. It's a situation you didn't think we would be in.
I mean, think of it this way, Sam. If you're a manager of a football club, interim manager of a football club, and you're replacing that manager, you're at HAG, you're replacing RANGNICK. Do you want the previous manager full-time overseeing the work you're doing? You probably don't. It's a good transition to have, and I think it's probably better for RANGNICK. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't want to be a full-time consultant at United. I'd jump.
Yeah, no issue for me. It is just a situation that I think it's sad that we are in this situation, considering Sir Alex Ferguson. Do you ever need a consultant? Do you ever need someone sort of? It's a sad sign of the times, in my opinion. Fair play to Ralph Rangnick.
I'll tell you one thing, though. My opinion of him is drastically changed. I mean, I had a conversation with a couple of the guys in the chat and said I thought he was a fraud when he first came in, and we'd all been had. I mean, we were sort of thinking director of football and manager of Leipzig. They're very good. They did well in the Champions League a couple of seasons ago. But the fact that he's just literally been brutally honest, ripped apart players, it's exactly what United need. And yeah, we're not seeing the benefits on the pitch. But I'll tell you one thing, we'll see the benefits in the long term.
I think that's the thing with the honesty.
It's the worst. We'll get better.
That's the thing with all the honesty, and I think we've questioned a few of us in the chat as well, have questioned it in regards to, well, is that really going to help the team in regards to performances? Like a couple of weeks ago, before sort of the season was over, in regards to league position. But you're looking back now, I think our one caveat when we're all saying that we weren't sort of too happy with the honesty was, well, if it's short-term pain for long-term gain, if it's sort of going to weed out a few problems, well, fair play. Let him say what he wants and let's expose it. So it is one of those things where hopefully some of these things do get addressed, and hopefully has a good relationship with Erik ten Hag, because I think that's the man he needs the relationship with.
And it looks like he will. And I know he's ripped, the squad apart, maybe at probably key times of the season when we've had big games. But look, United are where we are. We don't deserve to be anywhere higher. We probably deserve to be lower. You look at the teams that we're competing against as the top four, and as the top four stands now, I think Arsenal are in fourth, if I'm not mistaken. Out of a possible 24 points, what have we taken? We've taken 5 points.
Well, Rob put in the chat earlier that it's now which I've stopped looking, but now mathematically impossible for us to make the top 4. So I think that's what he said. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but I'd say that's the case with a couple of games to go. If maybe Arsenal or Spurs need one more result, so they're playing each other, so one of those are going to get a point either or in that match in a couple of weeks in the North London derby. But a few other things, and a topic I sort of want to move on to, and we can sort of drag Manchester United into this one, and I want to keep this sort of sensible and not sort of go too far, but let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. But as I said, do keep it respectful, whatever our thoughts are on the man. But Mino Raiola yesterday, wow, this is a weird story. If anyone who wasn't following Twitter, it was broken. I think Tancredi Palmieri sort of broke it and came out that Mino Raiola, obviously agent of Paul Pogba, had died. So all these sort of tributes are going out. And sort of, I think everyone was sort of very respectful across online and saying, okay, whatever we think of him, rest in peace and all this. Then about 2 hours later, a few reports came out saying, no, I've spoken to someone close to Mino Raiola. He's not dead. He's sick in hospital, but he's not dead. Then half an hour later, Mino Raiola tweets himself saying, no, I'm not. I think he's still sick, but he tweeted something saying, no, I'm not dead. And I'm just thinking, it played out amongst the journalists. It played out like transfer deadline day. They all wanted to sort of get ahead of each other, say, no, I was the one who broke the news. No, I didn't break the news. I didn't say he was dead. I said he was alive. And I just think it really, in my opinion, again, I'm just looking at Mino Raiola as a person. It's a horrible story in terms of if you're not dead and someone comes out and says, yeah, no, he's dead. It's a shocking situation for him and his family. But I think it really highlighted a lot of issues with football journalism as a whole, but we're going to focus on football journalism. It highlighted a lot of problems. So many sort of not checking their sources, so many wanting to be first for sort of clickbait reasons. They wanted to be the one who broke the story. And I just think to use a situation like that, and we can throw a sort of transfer story in here, so feel free to tie that into the discussion in regards to the way they go about their business. But the Mino Raiola one, the way it unfolded, a little bit, unfortunately, it was a little bit funny the way it unfolded to him tweeting and all these memes going about. But in regards to the journalistic approach, I thought they were exposed for what they are.
Yeah, I hit the nail on the head there. I think Rob's sort of comment there saying The Undertaker. I think seen a few memes of that. I think the best one I saw is I thought Jesus Christ was the best resurrection of Easter. So we'll see how that pans out. Look, it just goes to show how fast word of mouth trends. I mean, I think I looked on Twitter just randomly, and the person that reported it tweeted it 2 minutes ago, and within 5 minutes, retweeted probably about 30,000, 50,000 times. I think Sport Bible was the next major platform that sort of posted it, and everything else followed from there. Even Sky Sports.
That's what I've seen. I've seen all even the verified accounts in terms of not just journalists and Twitter pages, but sort of media outlets. In regards to Sky Sports, BBC, all sort of reporting. They weren't reporting the story exclusively, but they were sort of reporting from other reports. And look, that's their job, that they can do that. But the people who sort of did put this out as exclusive.
It's not the only one. I mean, you saw the one the other day about the Paul Pogba WhatsApp thing, and you're thinking, I thought that was a joke at first. I thought someone was just like, oh, he's deleted himself on WhatsApp. I was just like, oh, that's very funny. That's like cheap clickbait. And then 10 minutes later, it's on Sky Sports News as well. So
what Sky Sports and BBC have now, and it tricks a lot of people, and a lot of people say, oh, Sky Sports have reported this, or BBC have reported this. But what both those outlets have in regards to on their Twitter page with a link to their website, it's BBC reporting it or Sky Sports reporting it, but they've got two parts of their website. And a huge part of their website now is simply a gossip column, where it's nothing to do with them. They just report from other websites. And they say, Marcus Rashford about to sign a deal with Manchester City. It's in their gossip column. But because it's on the BBC website or Sky Sports, we think it's them because we see the blue tick, we see the banner sort of thing. We think, oh, it's from them. No, it's their gossip column. They're talking about other websites. And I think is it dangerous? I don't know. But the way we react, you saw these things 2 minutes later, someone had 30,000 retweets. I'm thinking that is dangerous, especially when we're talking about someone's life or death situation. He's not dead. 30,000 people are saying, yeah, he is dead. And I just think that, in my opinion, is a dangerous situation. And I don't know, there's no answer for that, in my opinion. I don't know what the solution is. The solution is only get correct information.
I think a lot of United fans were thinking Paul Pogba was probably staying for a little bit. You just can't combat this time, Tom. That's just a sign of the times and how things have changed. Social media is evolving rapidly. That's not going to be the last time something like this happens. There'll be plenty of other rumours in the summer, plenty of false stories. And it sort of brings it back to a conversation you had with Andy Mitten on this podcast a couple of months ago, where he was sort of verifying why he uses certain sources and the importance of checking their reliability and the damage it can do to his credibility as well. I think he mentioned, don't recall the example, but I think you mentioned the one time where he felt really pressured to sort of escalate on a story, knowing full well in his heart that it might not be the right thing to do, and he went with his gut, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, journalists, they have it. Do I call it a tough job? I think every job has its difficulties. Every job has its perks. But in terms of football now is a Hollywood movie. We treat these footballers as celebrities and they're the A-listers. There's all these sort of side notes and sort of other characters, and the media and the journalists, you just have to look at them now. Fabrizio Romano is one of the biggest names in world football. He's a journalist. You do look at the people who sort of report in England, they're such a big part of the story because we invest our lives in these football stories. Okay, he's going to this team. He's going to be paid this much. They're just as big a character as the players and as the clubs. I'm just thinking with that, because of the influence they have, and as you say, you just make that clear point, okay, 5 minutes later, a tweet's put out to 30,000 people, and what that 30,000 retweets, that's actually going out to 10 million people. I'm just thinking they have a huge responsibility. And maybe it takes a case like this, as you say, this is going to continue, another, hopefully not a specific situation like this, but more situations like this will arise over time, no doubt. But hopefully an incident like this does sort of wind them in a little bit and not change them, but just help improve their job.
I just don't think it will, and you got to remember some of these players, they're great football players, but they're also fame hungry, and at times their partners can be as well. You just have to bring it back to the Jamie Vardy story with his wife and the Colin Rooney thing, and
that was just funny. That was okay.
In the trial now, or in the court case now, they've got evidence that she went up to the Sun newspaper.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Tried to sell a story on Jamie Vardy's teammate, which is the former United player Danny Drinkwater. So look, it's never going to be. You can't. What I'm trying to say is you can't put out the fire, but when the damage is already there, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's just a sign of the times, I guess. Not just in football. We're obviously investing in the football side of things, but yeah, I think everywhere. You just look what's happening now with you mentioned a court case. You look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, the situation then, how that was reported, and now months later. Oh, I'm loving it. I'm all over you. I'm watching hours of footage of it. I can't get enough of it. But He's saying, imagine the vulture agent circling around Mino's club. This is my first thought. I think Rob brought it up as well in the chat in regards to, let's say it was unfortunate news and he had passed away. The football, okay, it's sad news, but the football side of all our brains are saying, well, hang on, what's happening with all these players? Because Haaland's on the move of on the verge of a huge move to Manchester City. Paul Pogba is obviously going to go somewhere on a free transfer, which would line the pockets. You'd assume a free transfer for Mino Raiola. You'd assume Mino Raiola will pocket north of 30 or 40 million pound. That's what he got for the Manchester United deal. So just think everyone was saying, hang on, what's going to happen to these players? You said, well, is Paul Pogba going to stay at Man United? Which is still technically, I can't see that situation happening. But the longer this drags out, I'm not saying it is dragging out, but the longer it goes into sort of the off-season, I'm not saying Paul Pogba's going to stay, but someone's going to have to buy him. Or to buy him, let's say, pay his wages. And that's still a big commitment. And is a club going to make that commitment? Ultimately, I think a club like PSG or Real Madrid will, but there is a situation where they don't. Obviously, Real Madrid were going to buy him the other year, but COVID got in the way. So they've made a decision, said, we want him, but hang on, we're not going to pay that money. I'm just thinking there is technically still a situation where Paul Pogba signs at Man United, because I think Paul Pogba, maybe his best financial deal is probably at Man United, not football-wise, but financially for him and Raiola. Man United are probably given him the best deal. That's just a guess. Maybe PSG or Real Madrid are going to offer more. But maybe just as we wrap up, forget the Mino Raiola situation. Paul Pogba, he's off. Yes, he's off, or is there still a chance you're thinking one thing? It could actually be a bit of a U-turn soon.
I don't get why United don't want to pay. I know he's a class player, but he doesn't want to be there. He really doesn't want to be there. He's got no desire. He's injured all the time, and when he is injured, there's no desire to fight on the pitch and get back as quick as possible. He's not got the hunger to play for United. Clearly, it's not worked out for him. That's fair enough. Sometimes transfers don't work out. Put him out in his misery. Just let him go. Just let him go. Don't offer him ridiculous amounts of money, knowing full well we're going to be in the same place we are in 4 years.
I think this comment here from Dion would be one of the things when Erik ten Hag picks up the phone and talks to Ralph Rangnick, he'd say, what do you think? I think this wouldn't be the first thing Ralph says, but he's one of those things, again, make sure Paul Pogba doesn't sign this contract. And that's not to criticise Pogba too much. I just think in regards to the situation, I think that's one of the things that he would be saying. I say, make sure this doesn't happen, because this is the issues that it would cause. Adam here, players can still work without agents. Will still be easy for Pogba to go. I don't think that I understand your thinking, Adam. In regards to the way these contracts work, the players definitely do need agents in regards to the technicalities and legalities of those contracts. But as Umad pointed out earlier, I'm sure there'll be no shortage of people getting in touch with Paul Pogba to represent him. I think he's probably one of the most marketable footballers in the world. And in regards to the Pogba discussion, sadly, I think he's off. Wants big money, trophies, and Champions League football. We can get one of those at Man United. Unfortunately, the wrong one. But anything else Manchester United wise I've missed, Josh?
Not really. I mean, I don't know if you saw this interview, but it was probably the best interview I've ever seen. And Sir Alex is at the horse races with a couple of other guys. And the guy clearly wants a little bit of bait, and he tactfully talks about horses with the most insane knowledge about past races in the past 5 years, and then swiftly turns it over to ERIK Ten Hag, and he gets it, he buys it. But
no, did you see that when he called him ERIK? So, well, how do you think ERIK will do? And I think in Fergie's mind, he thought he was talking about Eric Ken. He goes, ERIK? Who? And he said, ERIK Ten Hag, the new manager. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I hope he does well. And I remember that.
He looks so annoyed to be interviewed. He turns his back, then he realises the guys know who the interviewer is and buys into it.
Yeah, no, well, it's good to see Sir Alex looking well. Obviously, there's that scare a while ago, and he's looking very well, and he's obviously at all the games and continuing to enjoy his horse racing, and long may that continue, because we need someone else not to emulate Sir Alex Ferguson, but do a quarter of the work that he did. And let's fingers cross that man is ERIK Ten Hag. He's going to need patience, which he will get for 99% of the fan base. Fingers crossed he does, but I'm sure he will until we draw 1-1 with Aston Villa on the first day of the season. I'm sure that'll change, but always a pleasure, Josh, filling in for Larry on a Friday. Another long week for Man United, but it's a weird one. We have to get used to these Friday nights, as I said, because there will be kickoff times for Man United next season in the Europa or the Conference League. So we are back on Tuesday morning Sydney time. It's a Monday night kickoff in England.
Monday night kickoff, yeah. Been a while, actually. I can't remember. I don't think United have done a Monday night football this year, from memory.
Could be. You know more than me about that in regards to kickoffs and tickets and everything. But it's Brentford kickoff Tuesday morning. So we'll be back, Larry. Hopefully, Larry and I will be back on, say, Sunday night with a bit of a preview, sorry. And I can just warn you now, the preview will simply just be one Matter has to start or I'm not watching. If he doesn't start this match over Bruno, and if Rashford starts over Haaland or Garnacho, Brentford at home. I know Brentford are a decent team. Like, they could get a result. I think they beat Chelsea quite comfortably at Stamford Bridge. Okay, they can win the match. The season is over. If this isn't the correct team selection in regards to who deserves minutes, Ralph, I do like him, but I like him a little bit less.
I just don't think it's a similar game today. Just a game of nothingness. Brentford,
but make it something. Make it something. Make it a starting debut for Garnacho. Make Hannibal have his first start. Make Phil Jones. No, I'm not saying play Phil Jones. God, where am I going with this? But here we are. That's the situation we're in. I'm wanting to see Phil Jones play because he has something about him when he comes on. Here I am saying one Matter who's going to leave the club in 3 weeks. That gives me some type of excitement seeing him on the pitch. Playing Marcus Rashford. Look, it's not all on Marcus Rashford. My God, it feels like it at times. I'm just thinking he needs to help himself, because if he's going to stay around as a Man United consultant and part of the job and part of the family, whatever you want to, part of the culture, he needs to help himself by sort of getting on side with the fans. And if he continues to play these players, he won't do himself any favours, because the reaction to the results, that's what we'll focus on in regards to, okay, remember Ralph's last month, he lost every single game. That'll stick with fans, and that'll be a poor taste of Ralph Rangnick. He needs to do something to help himself going forward, because if things don't go our way, we'll say, oh, it's not ERIK Ten Hag's fault. Hang on, it's the board's fault. Ralph Rangnick's part of the board. It's his fault as well. So I think Ralph Rangnick has an important couple of weeks here to sort of not soften the blow, but sort of ease himself into the fans. And am I talking nonsense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think playing the youngsters will do them obviously the world of confidence, and it just goes to show that there is that progression, the progression path of United. Look at personally the youth players we have on the bench. I don't think any of them will be key players next year. I think the only player really that may progress to the first team would be on loan James Garner. I think he could be a real key figure next year. I'd be very, very surprised if they send him out on loan again, or if they transfer him. He's a prospect. And Forest are a good competitive team with decent, probably Premier League caliber players, if I'm being honest. They've underachieved in the past couple of years, but he is a focal point of that team.
I think when we wrap up, sort of do a season review and sort of look to next season, I think we'll probably have to do a whole video sort of on all the players out on loan, because here we have in our mind, okay, we're going to sell 10 players and buy 10 players. It's not going to happen. I think a lot of the players coming back, part of those signings, maybe there'll be 10 players sort of coming in. 6 or 7 of those will be players who are on loan. And obviously, main one is James Garner. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that episode and sort of looking back at how some of the young players have done. Not so young players, Donny van der Beek, Anthony Martial, their players have all been on loan coming back. So it'll be interesting to see how they have fared at their other clubs, and there'll be a sort of debate for when the season does finish, and obviously before the Melbourne tour. And if you are in Australia, obviously it has been announced, known for a couple of weeks, but obviously officially announced now that Manchester United are going to Perth as well after the Melbourne tour. A lot of you can see the banner at the bottom, Man United New South Wales Supporters Club. A lot of us are going down there for the Melbourne trip, for the week down there. A few will head over to Perth, but I don't think it'll be the main leg of the tour because obviously there will be a week in Melbourne with 2 games. So I think that'll obviously be the main course. But if anyone is travelling over to Perth, feel free and enjoy yourself. It was a very good time over there a couple of years ago, Josh. And God, that was a long time ago. That was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first preseason. But here we are for Erik ten Hag's first preseason. And as bad as it is, we'll be dreading it. We'll be thinking, oh, God, I don't like these players. Where this club's going, I hate this and hate that. When they land in Melbourne and we go down there, we're going to have a fantastic week, regardless of the football, regardless of the results, whatever we think of the players. Supporting Manchester United is something different. It's not about football, really. It's everything else, and it's why it makes it a bit of a special club.
Absolutely, and look, Australia at the moment is probably the most commercially viable place to host these kind of tournaments in a COVID environment. So we should. Well,
they're all coming here. There's games in Sydney, there's games in Perth, there's games in Brisbane. All the Premier League clubs, Brazil and Argentina are coming out, and Barcelona are here in a couple of weeks. And yeah, absolutely. And look, you guys obviously from Australia originally and born here. Don't think you'd ever think you'd see 3 tours in 10 years. So fantastic, fantastic time, really. I mean, I've only been here 4 years and I've seen 2. Well, I will be seeing 2. So have to reap the benefits. And there's not just United, obviously, Barcelona coming here, some of the international teams as well. So it's a really, really good time to be in Australia. No, definitely. And just as we wrap up here, Adam, any player meets. So what will happen with the Supporters Club, Adam, members, we will be hosting sort of a members-only event. It's not organised yet. We need to know who is exactly coming out. It won't be with a current player. Well, we'll obviously try our best to make an event like that with a current player. That's very likely not going to be the case. But Man United will obviously always tour with a few sort of ex-players, a couple of legends like Dennis Irwin, Brian Robson, and we'll definitely be hosting a sort of members-only sort of Q&A Legends night on one of the nights there. That obviously isn't confirmed yet, and the date isn't organised, but that will come out in due course. And but you never know. Literally, when you're down in Melbourne, have a shirt in your bag or your back pocket or something, carry a pen. You never know. Sometimes you walk past someone. So, but I'll give all that information out closer to the date. Obviously got a few games before then in regards to the Premier League. And Larry and I will be back to discuss, preview and review them as always. And if not, Josh will be here. And until then, hopefully everyone did get something out of that on their Friday night. Please do leave a like on the video on your way out. If you are new, if you could subscribe, that'll make me very happy ahead of this sort of long couple of weeks for Man United. Until then, have a good weekend and we'll chat to you pre-Brentford. Cheers.
Cheers.